So a few months back, we ended up buying a storage unit that was full of vintage items. It was all stuff from like the 80s and 90s, and tucked away at the very back corner of this unit was something that I had no idea how good this thing was going to turn out to be. So if you take a look here, we were just going through the very last things in this unit, just taking things down from the back. We ended up finding this old bike right here sitting on a stand. This turned out to be a 1983 BMX Mongoose bike. I kind of figured it was going to be good because it was old, but I had no idea just how good this bike was going to be. I actually had this thing just sitting in my bathroom for a few weeks. I kind of debated on listing this thing on Facebook Marketplace. After doing some comps, I saw that this bike was worth close to $1,000. At least that's what they were selling for on eBay. So part of me wanted to list this on Facebook Marketplace just to do a local sale because I didn't want to deal with the shipping. But then again, the more I thought about it, on Facebook Marketplace, there are a lot of flakers that never come through. And then at that high price point, I didn't want to take that chance of someone either coming through and stealing it or just scamming me some type of way. So at the end of the day, we decided to go ahead and list this on eBay. And it didn't take very long at all to sell. This ended up selling for $899. We ended up taking a best offer on this. I think we had it listed at $1,058. I went a little high just because I knew we were going to take offers on it. So it sold for $899. So I posted the sale on my Instagram story. I had a few people reach out to me. They were curious on the whole shipping process, how I was going to ship this out and stuff like that. So this video today, I'm going to break down the process, the boxes that I used, the shipping services and all that good stuff. So we're going to go ahead and break that down and show you the whole process. And then after that, I want to talk to you about an opportunity that I might have to expand my business. Just another source to go ahead and sell my items that I find in the storage units. I'm still kind of on the fence with this idea, but I think it might be a good resource and it's actually not going to cost me any extra money up front. So we'll talk about what this opportunity is, but first let's go ahead and jump into the process of shipping out this bike. So the first thing I did was I reached out to a local bike shop. They did offer to give me some boxes for free, but as you can see here, I showed up and they had these boxes sitting out back. They were completely water damaged. The box was all hardened up and kind of already falling apart. So there was no way I was going to use this box right here. So my next step is I went over to Lowe's. So here at Lowe's, I found these boxes right here. They were extra large boxes. These were $3.78 each. The dimensions were 20 by 24. So I ended up picking up 2 of these and I'll show you exactly how I used them. So I ended up having to take this apart. I took the 2 wheels off. This is the stand. All that's left is the frame. I left the pedals on. I did have to take the handlebars off. I really didn't plan on taking this apart. I thought I was going to ship it fully assembled in one of those big boxes from the bike shop. But you saw that was in bad condition, so I did have to take it apart. I ended up buying some bubble wrap. I also got some zip ties so I can go ahead and zip tie the bubble wrap around the frame. So this is everything bubble wrapped. I did each tire individually. I just bubble wrapped it and then taped it. Here's the frame. I bubble wrapped that all the way around. There's the zip ties around the frame there. I zip tied the handlebars to the frame. That way it wouldn't move during shipping. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and start building the boxes so we can get this all put in there. So the first thing I did is I just went ahead and put a little bit of tape on the first box here on the bottom, just so I can start loading things in. So the first thing I did is I put some packing paper on the bottom. I put the main frame in there, and then I put the 2 wheels on the sides. So you can see right here, wheel number 1 all the way at the bottom. And here is a second wheel on the other corner. And then we have the main frame right here all bubble wrapped up. Then we're going to get the stand. That doesn't need any bubble wrap. I just went ahead and placed it right there at the bottom. Then I just went ahead and stuffed this with more packing paper. I'm not too worried about the weight because the buyer did pay a pretty good shipping amount. So I want to make sure this is nice and secure. So I just completely loaded this thing up with packing paper. That's what it looks like so far. That's not going to move at all. That is completely filled in with packing paper. I then put another thick layer on the top of the frame. Here is a second box. I just went ahead and opened it up. I carefully went ahead and slid in each side on the edges there. This took quite a bit of work. I had to keep finagling it and messing it around to get it to fit. But that's what I have so far. The good thing about doing it this way also is that there's an extra layer of protection with that second box. And then I still have a little bit of room here on the edge. I have about 5 or 6 inches. But what I did is I just went ahead and filled the rest up with packing paper. I taped the heck out of this box to make sure it's not going to move. And again, the extra layer of protection goes all the way down to about the middle of the box with the flaps of that second box, if that makes any sense. But I taped this up every which way I could to make sure this wasn't gonna come apart. So that is what the final product looks like after putting the 2 boxes together. So jumping into the computer here, I went ahead and put 50 pounds. It was a few pounds less than that, but just to be safe, there's the dimensions there. With FedEx home delivery, we pay $106 and the buyer paid $150. So we are making a little bit there, but we did have to pay for the boxes, the bubble wrap and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, the shipping wasn't actually too bad. It did take a little bit of messing around with the boxes to get it tucked in. I was super nervous sending this thing out, but it did arrive. We did, as you saw there, FedEx, we did require a signature and we did add extra insurance as well. So it cost us a few extra dollars, but it did arrive safely. And here is the feedback from the buyer right here. This feedback did come through, I think, a day or two after it arrived. So we were a bit nervous there, but you can see right there we got some positive feedback. So definitely don't be scared to ship bigger items on eBay. There are ways to ship these things as long as you charge enough shipping to the buyer. So hopefully showing you this process did help you out. It makes you feel a little more comfortable about shipping big items over on eBay. But now that I got that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about this other resource that I have to sell other items that I find in storage units. Now I ended up finding this place that we're gonna talk about because I found this old $20 bill in the same storage unit that we found that BMX bike in. I did do some research on eBay and on Google and stuff like that. There was just results all over the place on this item. So I made a few phone calls to some local shops here in my area. I found a coin shop that actually appraises coins and stuff like this. So I went ahead and took this note over to this guy to see what he can tell me. Unfortunately, this bill wasn't real. It was a copy. If it was real, it would have been a couple $100s on eBay. But I ended up walking through his store just checking out what he had. He had some really cool stuff. He had a bunch of coins, toys, collectibles, sports memorabilia, just all kinds of stuff in here. So it was way more than a coin shop. And after talking to him, he said that he wants to do like more consignment type stuff, kind of like an antique booth, I guess. He said that he wants to fill up his whole store, at least one corner of the store, with different items that people can come in and check out. He did offer me a space in the store. He said it would be completely free. I wouldn't have to pay anything. I can bring in as much stuff as I want, and he would only charge me a 10% fee for everything that sells. So just right off the bat, that's already cheaper than eBay, because eBay charges what, like 13.5%. Plus we do promote, so that's like another 4 to 5% on certain items. So that's already like 17, 18%. And then we have other fees, and then we have to ship and stuff like that on eBay. So I think for certain items, this is definitely gonna make sense, especially because it's gonna be free. So like a bunch of the bulkier items or bigger stuff, things that just might sit on eBay for a while, I think I might just take over to this guy, have it sit in the store instead of just sitting here at my house. At least over there it has a chance to sell. And then I'm only getting charged 10% of whatever sells. So I think that's a pretty good deal. Let me know down in the comments, would you do something like this? But I'll definitely keep you updated on this whole process. Over the next couple of weeks, I'm gonna start putting stuff to the side and take over there and just see how well they do. It's not gonna hurt, it's only 10%, so it's not a huge amount of profit off the top line there. But that's gonna do it for today's video. I hope this helped in one way or another. If it did, go ahead and drop a like. It really helps the channel grow. I'm really on a mission to try to grow this channel. Go ahead and drop a comment. That also helps a lot as well. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.